Betting Weekly Live here with you on a Thursday. Mike Carver along with Doug Kezirian as we get you ready for all of tonight's action. Thursday night football starting week 12. The Bills in Houston against the Texans. We've got 4 games in the NBA. Huge night on the ice in the NHL. Some good college basketball. There is a college football game. Somewhat fun belt, I guess you could say, tonight, if you want to call it that. And of course, we have much more to do even beyond. Doug, it is great to see you as always. And back on the horse last night, baby. The Daily Double in the mix with the Russ Bounds and the over at the Duck Pond for the Bruins and Anaheim.
Yeah, maybe he should be the one dating Angel Reese and not Wendell Carter because he's all about the offensive rebounds and things like that. But in all seriousness, it was good to get back in the win column. You've been on fire. I had to do some calculations here. 11-2 ATS in your best bet over the last 2.5 weeks. So quite the run you've been on. I'm 9-3-1, asterisk 10-2 if you want to give me the half point on a game. But it's really just great that we're seeing the ball well, and it's not just the one play. I think we talk it out. It helps. We play off each other really well, and I hope our audience appreciates the dialogue and sort of the thought process because, the market's really tight. And I'd even say 10 years ago, 7 years ago, it wasn't as tight. Certainly 20 years ago when I first moved to Las Vegas, teasers were a layup. They were minus 110. It was just such a softer market. You could bang NBA games, teams off a lot, all that stuff, but you just have to pay a tax now. And it's just a really hard market to really constantly beat up. And I think we're doing a really nice job of A, singling out the softest games,
Yep.
and then B, kind of being on the right side of them. But it's good to pass when we can. And I think it's really smart to have that structure within the show.
We had a bunch, like you said, it's a bunch of other stuff too outside of it. I used that Matherin threes in a couple of things last night. That got home. NHL overtime last night. You did get one of the 4 games for a very small profit. So there was a bunch of things that got going for us. And we'll continue again here tonight on Betting Weekly Live. And actually, before we start all the action, Doug, we do have to let everybody know new time next week. Moving up an hour. 4 p.m. East.
Apparently we're not superstitious, right? It's
No.
we're moving the time. What if we get all our winners in that hour before the show?
Well, look, 4 p.m. East, 1 p.m. Pacific, starting on Monday. And the good thing about this, Doug, is it gives everybody an extra hour to get everything in order after they watch us. They go back and see it. You got a little extra time to get the plays in. So 1 hour earlier, starting on Monday, 4 p.m. East.
I think it gives people a little bit time to digest. So if they're late to the party or i.e. can't watch live, it's still obviously archived on YouTube where they can watch and go from there. I think that's an important thing so it's sort of the sweet spot that a lot of the props and a lot of the later game stuff is posted, but it also allows people to kind of digest things. And if you're a nut job like I am and listen to all YouTube shows on 1.75 speed and 2.25, then you can really bang out the show. Now, I do that, and I don't mention the shows because I don't want to insult the hosts, but there's some green on-air people who are a little green, so they're slower, they're little pauses, so you can just whack away a lot of that and go 2.25 speed. I hope our show can't be listened to at that speed because
No.
we should be able to talk quickly enough and articulate our thoughts more effectively. But there is a way to kind of expedite the audio if you can sort of absorb it all and extract enough winning information.
And as the Legend Killer says there in the chat box, earlier start time good for our UK crowd
There you
across the
go.
pond that listens in too, and watches. So that is a great thing too to get it going a little bit earlier for them. We are going to start with the NFL tonight, and don't forget at Bet Rivers, NFL primetime first touchdown, second chance bet. Users who opt in the Bet Rivers app or at betrivers.com will receive a second chance token for any first touchdown wager on each game day of the primetime NFL game. See the Bet Rivers app or website for full details. And that primetime game tonight, Doug, the Buffalo Bills heading to Houston to see the Texans. Of course, the Texans started 0-3. They have fought themselves back to 5-5 with some very good defense. Bills at 7-3 need every win they can get as they're chasing down the Patriots in the AFC East, minus 5.5 for Buffalo with a total of flat 44.
really strange matchup if you think about it. Typically we have division games, but not always. A few weeks ago, we had Vikings Chargers was interconference,
Right.
but I couldn't think of a Thursday night game I'm less interested in watching. Maybe because last week I laid the lumber and this week I'm not, but I just don't like watching this Texans team. The Bills team, I do like Josh Allen. He's fantastic, right? But I just get kind of annoyed with them because I think their coach is kind of a little too cautious, kind of a knucklehead, not in a like Dan Campbell way. I just think he's vanilla, but in the wrong way.
Yep.
Um, I'm on the under here. I could see either team covering. I don't want to overreact to the Bills. I was on the Bucks a little bit last week, but because I just think their defense isn't good enough to lay that kind of wood against the Tampa Bay offense. Now, I just don't know if the Houston offense, especially without Stroud, is going to be enough to take advantage of this Buffalo defense. So I'm on the under. Thus, I'm probably going to take in a pick'em league the dog just because I think fewer points, the 5.5 has value. But I hate this Houston team in so many ways.
They are a tough watch. It is really hard to watch them, but you know what, Doug? They're a very good defensive team, and that's kind of what gotten them
Yes.
back into the mix here. I'll give you a couple of things for this game. First of all, obviously being a Bills fan, I remember these things well. The Bills lost in Houston last year. It was a 23-20 game. Allen had one of his worst games ever. I think it was 9 for 30 or something like that with 120 yards, and he still was driving to try to tie that game at the end, and they just came up short. But how about these Josh Allen numbers? We talk about trends a lot. On Thursday Night Football, Josh Allen is 8-0 straight up. 6 of those games have been on the road, and he is 5-1 against the spread on the road on Thursday Night Football. So Allen's been good on these short weeks going away. But I am a little worried tonight, Doug, in terms of how that Houston defense has gotten after him a little bit in the past. And I'm worried about the Bills. It's not very good, but it is Davis Mills on the other side. So I think it leans to the under kind of here with this 44.
I think bet up a little bit, though. I see some 44 and a half and 45 elsewhere. I think Bet Rivers has a sharp number here. I don't know. Are the Texans like I don't think they're very well coached. I like D'Amico Ryan's like in a vacuum. I think he's got the right sort of makeup for a really good head coach. Obviously, he was a really good player and his pedigree speaks for itself. I just think he's made some weaker decisions, not bottom five or anything silly like that, but I just don't know if there's going to be a distinct coaching edge. I don't think the Houston home field, I think this could be a sleepy 13-6 game kind of thing, maybe 20-10. So that's why I worry the Bills are going to cover, and I just don't want to get involved. But I do think points are going to be at a premium.
I agree with you. This is an under or nothing in terms of a total for me. I think that's the kind of game that we could be looking at tonight. Now, despite that being there with that number and thinking it could be an under, there's going to be some numbers out there in the prop market that could be a touch lower than usual, maybe, Doug. So let's look at a few of these guys. I'll throw you one that kind of caught my eye first. Of course, the Bills have all kinds of problems with their wide receiver core. They don't have many good ones. Keon Coleman's going to sit tonight for his second straight game. They're not going to have Dalton Kincaid. They're not going to have Curtis Samuel. Hardman, who they just brought up last week, he's injured now too. Terrell Shavers is a guy who's been hanging around with this team. He's been on the practice squad. He's been with them. He gets a chance to go in last week. He catches a bomb touchdown. He had 90 yards receiving. He's 24 and a half tonight. I don't know how much the Bills do in the air, Doug, but that seems a little light for a guy who was thrown into a pretty big role last week. So I like Shavers at 24 and a half.
I'm getting to the point. I have no children. I'm unmarried, but I feel like a dad. It's like, I'm like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Before I used to know every single thing. Now I just feel like with all this waiver wire stuff, and I've pulled back on my fantasy involvement just because I'm in like 9 pick'em leagues and contests and in Vegas here, and I'm firing on women's basketball. So you just have to pull back a little bit, even when you don't have other I don't want to say distractions, but responsibilities like having a family, things like that. But I swear I get like totally caught off guard with some random dudes. Thank God I'm such a situational player where it's like I can be just as good handicapping, just like, oh, they're off a loss, blah, blah, blah. The spot matters so much. So yeah, I've never heard of this guy. I mean, I have, but you know what I mean? Like I can't tell you tons about each of these players. I'm very selective with my prop market. I rely on guys within my inner circle for that. So I certainly like the concept though. And these numbers, when they're lower threshold, it's much more enjoyable than trying to bet over on like a stud wide receiver.
It just seems light for a guy who kind of filled Keon Coleman's role on Sunday and honestly did it better than him, which is why he's staying in there tonight and Coleman is staying in the press box and on the sideline, is because he was not able to get it done. So Shavers at 24.5 really caught my eye tonight. And Allen over 34.5 rushing, just because I think that the Houston defense is going to get a lot of pressure on him, Doug. He had about 60 yards rushing in the game last year that I mentioned. He did not do well passing the football. So Houston's pressure might force Allen to run a little bit more than usual, 34.5 for him.
I like it. I'm getting involved, but Josh Allen is one of those guys who sort of I what I like to do typically when in the playoffs, I bet rushing quarterbacks over
Yeah.
their prop because if you think about it, the stats are determined from regular season performance, right? But in the playoffs, it's all hands on deck. Guys like Russell Wilson might throw it away during the regular season, but they're going to tuck it and run to extend the drive here and there. So you always get like a little bit more, one or two more runs during the playoffs with most guys. Now with Allen, I think he's so big and so competitive that I think he's a guy who's going to tuck it and run and treat every regular season game like a playoff game. So you're going to get those yards. This all comes down to, is he flush from the pocket? It's always worth mentioning college versus pro. Sack yardage in college counts towards rushing yards, but not in the pros. So when you have a good pass rush, that's actually good for rushing yards in the NFL.
Uh, Give me a little something with the Houston run game, maybe in the prop market, because the Bills have had a really hard time stopping the run. I mean, this guy Tucker came off the street for the Bucks last week and had 3 touchdowns off him and ran all over him. So I could see wanting to get involved in maybe the Houston run game tonight.
I mean, that's the thing, right? I hope the Texans are not idiots. They have Davis Mills. You can run the ball on this Buffalo defense. And when you run, you keep Josh Allen off the field. So it's been interesting. The featured back right now is Woody Marks. And he's been getting more and more carries every single game. And his yards per carry has varied, but it's really specific, or the outcome and production is really hinged on how quality the run defense is for the most part. So to your point with Buffalo's run defense, I think he can have a field day here, and I think he's going to get a steady diet of carries. So over 63.5 rushing yards, I think is a smart prop. You could say like, should he do, rush attempts or carries? I'm there. It's like 14.5 or 15.5, depending on the juice you prefer. I think that's probably a smart play. I just worry that they get down 2 scores and he's not going to get the carries, but he could break one off, especially if Buffalo's in prevent defense, because I think that's contributing to their sort of game script of being poor against the run. It's a lot of everything underneath. So Marks can get a lot of cheap yardage, maybe a 9-yard carry, a 12-yard carry if they're down 2 scores in the fourth quarter. So I would lean more towards the rushing yard than the 15 plus or 16 plus carries.
Yeah, with the 63.5 right there for Marks at Bet Rivers tonight, I would have no issue seeing him going over that tonight, especially with the way that the Bills stop the run, because they don't. Is what they don't stop the run. They're awful at it. As far as the touchdown market, this will kind of lead me into the Bet Rivers special tonight, Doug. I do think that Cook's going to score. The Cook price to me is a little bit cheaper than what it usually is. Now, I'm not normally in the market of playing guys for touchdowns at minus 129, but Cook's usually like minus 160, minus 165, minus one. So I feel like you're getting Cook, despite it being a minus money touchdown, at a pretty good number. And Cook is in the special, which is cooking up a feast. Josh Allen and James Cook to each record 1+ rushing or receiving touchdown versus the Texans. This is boosted from plus 260 to plus 320. So really, there's a lot going on there. But obviously with Allen, it's a rushing touchdown. You need Josh Allen to get a rush touchdown. And Cook, you can get one or the other. You never know. Josh Allen actually has caught a receiving touchdown in Houston before. that first playoff game he ever played, that crazy trick play that they ran in that game that they blew against the Texans. But still, basically, Doug, this is each of them to score a touchdown, boosted up to plus 320.
Yeah, I mean, that's the tricky thing with these, first touchdown or sorry, anytime touchdowns is because when you think there's going to be a low scoring game, like you really have, very limited options. Like, for example, there was a popular same game parlay on Monday Night Football, right? And it was like one of the running backs, 15 plus receiving yards, one of the receivers to catch a touch. And then it's like 13-1. It's like, well, as the course of the game, so there's one leg left in the parlay that pays 13-1, but you have one quarter left and that team might not score again, let alone that guy to get the touchdown. So that's why a lot of this is tough. And then in this case, it's amplified because have, we like the under. So we were
Right.
thinking field goals with Fairbairn and things like that. Um, I can see this hitting, right? Allen rushing touchdowns, not far fetched, right? Cook, but
Right.
that's like basically two on the ground, right? Unless he throws a swing pass to Cook.
Right.
So that would be my only concern here, but you're getting 320. I probably would not pull the trigger, but I understand it's probably like it's a fair price. I just don't know if I would pull the trigger. But again, Buffalo could have their way with this defense, with the way how dynamic Josh Allen is.
Look, these two guys combined have scored like a third of their touchdowns this year. I think it's 18 combined touchdowns between Cook and Allen. These are the guys that do the heavy lifting for Buffalo, especially when you get inside the 10, inside the 5, etc. for them. Legend Killers on the under. The Texans over 3.5 field goals. That's not a bad one, Doug, because like you said, Houston kicks a ton of field goals with Fairbairn, and the Houston D might slow Buffalo down in the red zone or slow them down. I know Bills are, they do go for it a lot, but McDermott's also very conservative, as you mentioned, in an aspect. I know that sounds like it's both sides of it, but that really is McDermott. Over 3.5 field goals, that actually doesn't sound bad in a game like this.
So it's plus money. What I would do instead, I would lay the $1.41 with Fairbairn over 1.5 instead. But it's a catch-22 because the Bills, they're going to move the ball probably more effectively, right? Because they have Josh Allen. But I also think they go for it on fourth down a lot. So I'm a little concerned with how many opportunities Prater's going to get. So
Right.
look, Fairbairn could kick 4 field goals, let's be honest. But I do think the Bills offense should score more, and you should be able to get a field goal into the first half. So you're looking at really only needing 3 others.
I'm with you.
Not
I think you play
controlled environment.
Fairburn.
I think Fairbairn's the guy. I think minus 141 probably is a banger. Do
Yeah.
we dare put that in my best bets? I mean,
I don't know that you think about it. You got some options. I know you got a few things in the NBA that
yeah.
you're going to be that you're going to be liking tonight as well. So Bills and Texans tonight. I will be very interested party for more
I think we've
reasons.
exhausted this terrible game.
We have Bills Texans later this evening. All right, let's go to the NBA where there are 4 games tonight on a Thursday. Why don't we start with the game that's going to be on NBA TV just after 8 o'clock East, and that is the Hawks in San Antonio against the Spurs. Spurs -1 total. Now I actually got it banged up to Bet Rivers to 233.5 for this one.
So I'm heavy, like an uncomfortable amount on the Atlanta Hawks here, money line. Now, as I have explained, and it's certainly worth explaining, I like to over bet in certain situations, but abort with a middle and things like that early on in the game because anytime there is something, I don't tend to complain about it through the betting lens. I just try to bet into that. So, for example, many people complain about the NBA just having huge runs, right? Anybody who watched Blazers Bulls last night knows what I'm talking about, or Suns Hawks the other night. So instead of complaining about it, because it ain't changing the more you complain about it, just use that to bet. So if everybody makes a run and 20-point leads go, just bet on the other team and then set up middles kind of thing. So I love the Hawks to start strong and win the game. Now, I think they can win by 15, 10 kind of thing. But they may not, right? Because things get crazy. But I don't think the Spurs are going to go to wire. Now, why is that? So the Spurs here have a power rating. That's how odds makers and the betting market determines the point spread. No one knows anything on how to evaluate the Spurs right now. They're missing Victor Wembanyama and Stephon Castle. No one knows. And then De'Aaron Fox, for good measure, just came back a few games ago. Really, we don't know if they're a middle of the pack Western Conference team, bottom. No one knows. They're coming off 2 wins, but those wins were against the Sacramento Kings and then the Memphis Grizzlies at home, who played without Morant. And that game was like tied with like a minute and a half to go, and they won by 10. Very misleading final score. I watched the whole game, sweating out the Spurs. So I just think the Spurs team has a giant asterisk. No one knows what to expect. Like the Hawks are off a loss, playing really well. And in that Spurs game, De'Aaron Fox was out of gas. He wasn't in game shape yet. So even with the game tied, he was deferring to Devin Vassell to run the point because he was just out of gas. And the Hawks have a lot of guys they can throw at Fox, Jalen Johnson, some other guys. So this Atlanta team's on a roll. They had won like 5 or 6 straight. They did lose to Detroit. So I think it's a nice bounce back spot. And I think the Spurs are feeling themselves a little bit like Harrison Barnes was going off in that game. I just think the Hawks are so much better, and I think they're going to want this game more. It's a good spot to bet Atlanta. So I'm going to overbet the Hawks money line. And let's say they get up 7-10. You can play back plus 4.5, plus 6.5. And then even if it's a nice lead in the second half, you can do what's called scalping the money line. You can't middle the money line, right? If you have both teams, only one's going to win. So you can do what's called a scalp. So if you are like at minus 105 on the Hawks, right? You play back like plus 210, plus 220, but you don't have to play back your exact amount. You can play back half and then lock in a profit and then use that profit to cover the juice on your pick 'em and plus 6.5, plus 8.5, things like that. So it's actually like a free shot or you can play with it and all the numbers, how whatever your appetite is. But I just think it's a really good situation because you're betting into a soft Spurs power rating, right? It's a flawed, skewed line. And I think the Hawks are in a great bet on situation. Now, obviously, they have to play the game. You never know how this stuff's going to happen. Jalen Johnson could roll his ankle the first 2 minutes of the game. I can't tell you how much I lost on a WNBA game this past season when the point guard for the Fever filling in for the injured Caitlin Clark rolled her ankle early on, and they were like 10-point favorites. They lost outright. It's like, well, what do you want me to do? Like, 2 players got hurt first quarter, so anything can happen. But I just think it's a good spot to bet against the Spurs. Very misleading back-to-back wins here.
Yeah, very misleading. Of course, no Castle, no Wembanyama, etc. for San Antonio
Yeah,
tonight, either at home.
they could be a lottery team.
Could be with that kind of lineup. So there you go, Hawks Spurs tonight. Let's go to Memphis. Kings and the Grizzlies this evening. Very attractive matchup. Grizzlies -4 at Bet Rivers, 234.5 the total.
Yeah, I think this is a good opportunity to bet on Memphis. I mentioned that they were tied with the Spurs down the stretch. They've got some ballers, that they play pretty well. I think they use Zach Edey effectively. Coward's been fantastic. Jaren Jackson Jr. still need to find his group. I think this Kings team kind of stinks. I mean, I'm not the first guy to think of it. That's no breaking news. I think everyone realizes this team's not great. They've lost 7 straight. I mean, they're only 3-12 on the season. Memphis has had their flashes. They've really had back-to-back fourth quarter collapses. That's been the issue with Memphis. So I just think, they've lost themselves 5 straight. I think they're ready to break through because they've lost to the Spurs all on the road. This is the first game home. So on the road, they lost the Spurs, Cavs, Celtics, Knicks, and Thunder. Okay. So not exactly embarrassing. Those are all playoff teams. I think they're going to get right. Now they're favored by 4. This isn't a pick 'em, but I think this Memphis team is well coached. I can't convincingly say that about Sacramento. And I think Memphis players, I think I've talked about it before. They've done a great job with their scouting department, GG and all these guys. Coward's been fantastic. 7-something wingspan for a guard. I just think they're a better opportunity. I think they're a good bet on spot. So it's a regular play for me here with Memphis.
Memphis -4 tonight against the Kings are awful. Really, really bad. Other 2 games tonight. Let's see if there's anything that interests you. Clippers are in Orlando against the Magic. Magic -6 with the 218.5.
Yeah, normally I would love the Magic here. The problem is the Magic are coming off a big win, right?
Yeah.
That's my apprehension. And the Clippers, I mean, they're 4-10, they're not good, but they're playing pretty hard, and they've lost all these games down the stretch. They could be distracted because, they're in on this long road trip. It's game 4 of a 7-game road trip. So I don't wanna get involved, but 6 feels like a lot. Harden's been playing great. I mean, I don't like the guy. I like betting against him in the playoffs, but to be fair, I mean, I think he had the 4th most minutes last year in the regular season. This year, with the new contract, he's been logging serious minutes. Um, I just don't know, like, if Jalen Suggs is gonna guard him, I think he could have a tough time going off, but 27.5 points for his prop feels low. Banchero's not back for Orlando. So just given that Orlando's coming off the big win over the Warriors, I just worry that they're going to be a little flat here. I'm kind of talking myself into Clippers first quarter, that kind of thing.
I was actually just going to say that to you because the way the Clippers have kind of faded at the end of these games, are they maybe a first quarter or a first half type of play, the Clippers right now?
Yeah, but I've just seen them lay eggs across the board,
Yeah.
right? Like, but you're right. They played Denver tough the other night, got blown out in the third quarter. And it was the fourth was the same until Ty Lue put the scrubs in, and the scrubs played hard till the end. They lost Eric Jones Jr., who was a really nice piece, really lanky, great defensively. Um, Orlando's pretty good, man. Like they're I like this team a lot, even without Ben Caro. I just don't think there's value here anywhere, and that's what we're
Okay.
always looking for, right?
Yep. And the fourth game tonight is the Sixers in Milwaukee against the Bucks. Now you have a lot of things here. There's no Giannis for
Right.
Milwaukee. There's no Embiid. I saw Maxi's a game time as well for the Sixers, I believe, although he might be good to go. -2 on the road for Philly, 222.5 the total.
I don't get involved with Derry Bird without Giannis. I think he spreads the floor for AJ Green. Maxi's just he's a weapon. He's an all NBA type player, right? Whether it's second or third team depends on the type of season he has, but he's really unguardable with his speed and his shooting availability or shooting ability that he's developed the last couple years. This Bucks team started really strong. They have high aspirations, but they've lost by double digits against the Lakers and Cavs. And no Giannis, you're starting to see like the real sort of nuts and bolts around this team when, it's like Miles Turner can only do so much. Ryan Rollins has been fantastic, but for a guy who's not expected to put up big numbers, like he's been great, but he's not a great point guard. He's been great for who he is. I just think they have limited firepower. Excuse me. So limited firepower. Sixers team's been a tough one for me to figure out. Honestly, like I could lean under here, even though the totals are starting to drop that you and I have discussed in the NBA lately.
They certainly have. Always kind of take a look when there's something in the low 220s that gets
Right.
put on the board, but you get nervous with all the firepower out of that game. And there's just a lot there's a lot missing there with Giannis not going to be in for Milwaukee. So 4 games in the NBA tonight. Of course, tomorrow night, Doug, I know you're NBA Cup. You're excited. NBA Cup Friday nights for us on Betting Weekly Live. So we will have all of that tomorrow. How about the ice? NHL. Now that, of course, big night. 12 games in the National Hockey League tonight. Here's another streak for us. Now, we got on Toronto when they were on a heavy overrun, and that, of course, is now cooled off with them going under their last 2 games. Did you know, Doug, Vancouver has hit 10 straight overs? They have reached the double digits in the over department as they get ready to take on Dallas tonight. So Vancouver been playing some high-scoring games. Dallas coming in probably very upset after losing to the Islanders at home the other night. This is a flat 6 at Bet Rivers. Do we jump on the Canuck train here as it is? They're looking for 11.
I should just call this the Frank the Tank segment for the we're going streaking. That's all we really eye in these over streaks. Now the Leafs have come back to. By the way, have we ever done the? Has Hockey World ever done like why is it Leafs and not Leaves?
Yeah, I have never heard anybody bring that up. Never done that.
Uh,
I've never heard it. Just Leafs. That's
the
all.
other one is it's Louisville. Then why do they call it the Ville? If it's the Volt, it should be the Volt, right? If it's
Louisville.
Louisville,
Louisville.
right?
That's it.
Um, those two things have always bothered me. I play the over. If the overs are not just pure representation of like bad goaltending or bad defense, and it's how the Canucks want to play, then who's going to impose their will then that's sort of in all these sports, whatever it is, the byproduct of the situation. Like Alabama yesterday got Illinois to kind of play their way. Now, Illinois
Yeah.
ran with them, but eventually over 40 minutes, you're just not either conditioned from a physical cardio standpoint or really just mentally and structurally to just play that kind of game and shoot that many threes that you're just not going to be as efficient. You're going to be taken out of your game. That's why Alabama, I like betting on, not necessarily the totals because the market's adjusted, but that's the thing. So if the Canucks and Leafs play these types of games, then they're usually going to sort of invite it and really suck in the other team to play their style.
Yeah, I think we go for it. We jump on board here this evening in Vancouver with the flat six with Dallas and the Canucks. A few other games that caught my eye for tonight. Toronto, they just threw the Leafs were named after a World Regiment called the Maple Leafs Regiment. There it is, right there for you. See, look at that, Doug. You get all the information right there. Speaking of
And
the
why
Leafs.
was that? Why was that regiment called the Leafs and not the Leaves?
We will there. That's a deeper conversation that you will have to have right there. That's not for me. The Leafs tonight. They've snapped their losing streak Tuesday. They're home again for Columbus. I don't mind Toronto tonight. I don't think much of Columbus. I don't think much of Toronto either. But at minus 112, you could maybe talk me into the Leafs. It's not my favorite play. My favorite side, actually, Doug. This Blackhawk team has been good to us. They have come
Yeah.
up in some really good spots. They're minus 115 against the Kraken tonight at home. Feel like the United Center has been the place when we've been getting Chicago, and now still minus 115. But Dart is on fire right now for them. I like the Blackhawks again tonight on the money line.
Like you said, they've been very good for us. I just can't wait to bet against the Kraken on Sunday because I already have it on my calendar with alerts. They
And
play back-to-back games, 0-13 in their existence or something like that. So that's really anytime I hear Kraken, I'm like, oh, Sunday.
that is by me. They are on the island Sunday against the Islanders at UBS. As a bunch of teams are playing these back-to-back Saturday and Sunday this weekend. Seattle is one of them on the road in a few spots. So I hope they do act like they usually do on the second leg of a back-to-back Sunday on the island. The Oilers are having a real rough road trip. They lost last night, second night of a back-to-back for them. They're in Tampa against the Lightning. Lightning have won 7 out of 10. They were very impressive against the Devils the other night. It's pretty big. This is actually it's now screamed up to 175. It was 155 earlier, and it's gone up to 175. And this total's actually jumped up to 6.5 as well. I can't play a puck line against the Oilers because you never know. They're going to score 4, 5, 6 goals out of nowhere. They did score a lot last night. The problem is they gave up 8. Maybe another over with the Oilers this evening here in Tampa. But I do like the Lightning, Doug. It's just a very big price at 175. Maybe regulation.
Right. It is. Yeah, I was going to say there's ways to work around that. No.
Well, what's the regulation number for them here? Let's see. Minus 107 for the three-way. That's the three-way line. You get them right there. So minus 107. That's not terrible. I just think the Edmontons, they got to get home. They have looked so sloppy, whether it was in Buffalo, last night in Washington. They still have to go to Florida after this for that Stanley Cup rematch against the Panthers, and they might be looking a little ahead to that, Doug, as well this weekend. So
Right. Right.
probably a good spot here, whether we do Lightning regulation. I'm nervous puck line, but maybe that might not be small. Maybe small puck line. Maybe 75% regulation, 25% puck line, something like that. You do a little mix and match.
That's the thing. People need to think outside the box like that. I think that's a really smart way to go about all of this. We've talked about it many times, and I think that's really the best way.
And we do have a late night Shark Tank game
Okay.
between the Kings and the Sharks this evening, which is a flat 6, and you're getting even money to the over. That's because the Kings are typically perceived as a lower scoring team, but they've scored pretty good amount on the road this year, and they've been a good road team. So I think at a flat 6, we could try the Shark Tank late night over for us tonight.
It's always a nice bailout early in the weekend, right? To get the weekend started the right way.
Always a good. We love the late night bailout
Healthy.
blowout. for at the Shark Tank for us. There's a ton of games tonight. I mean, the Devils are in Florida. You have got the Rangers in Colorado. Rangers, one of the best road records in the NHL against Colorado, who is the best team in the NHL so far this year. They have been unbelievable. So that's Vegas is on the road in Utah. Utah's lost 8 out of 10. And Vegas is a very small road favorite in Utah tonight. So that's another one, maybe, Doug, that I got my eye on for some late night action because that's a late start.
Believe in the Golden Knights?
Not from what I've seen so far this year.
Yeah,
I really don't. They have not looked like the team that, perennially the last few years has been in the mix, one of the cup contenders, etc. I don't think they've looked that way so far. But they have the talent. They're still kind of working Marner in and doing all of those things. But this Utah team is not playing well. They rallied the other night in San Jose, still lost. They're back at home where they've been okay, but 8 out of 10, not a good scene for them so far. So a very busy night in hockey, Doug. We've got a few overs that we can maybe go. Blame Mitch Marner. That's what Leaf fans did. That's good. We could blame him. You want to blame? He brought the bad Toronto vibes to Vegas. Is that what we're saying about Mitch Marner? I watch.
Things take time sometimes.
They do. Petey, I watch NBA Cup games wearing kaleidoscope glasses. So does Doug. He's got them all on all his screens. He's got his kaleidoscope glasses on whenever he's watching the NBA Cup. If you, of course, like what you are seeing, as you should, make sure that you subscribe to the Betting Weekly Studios channel on YouTube, where you can also not just check out Betting Weekly Live, but all of our other shows, including released earlier today, Betting Weekly EPL. That's right. The Premier League is back this weekend. Join Dan Roebuck, Nigel Seeley, and Jack Wright as they preview match day 12 of the Premier League, back from the big international break. We know a lot about the paths here for these teams to the World Cup, but big matches in the EPL this weekend include Arsenal versus Tottenham, Newcastle versus Man City. Make sure you check out Betting Weekly EPL with all the guys, Nigel, Dan, and Jack, getting ready for it. All right, college football. Big matchups for this weekend. Usually Thursday is when we go and check in on a few of these. And it is kind of a setup week, right, Doug? Because next week's huge with all the rivalry games, last game of the regular season. A lot of teams, especially in the SEC, like to schedule some layups for this week leading into that. But we do have a few games that have some gas to them, including in Eugene. We'll start there, where USC and the Ducks are going to get together on Saturday. This is Ducks minus 9.5, 59.5 the total.
This is tough because I think it's too many points, but too many people I respect are going to lay it with Oregon. And I understand USC's not phony, but they're like a fringe playoff team, a little misleading. I thought they showed me a lot coming back from down 21-7, albeit at home, but still to Iowa last weekend. Yes, Lincoln Riley and crew has had their issues on the road, but that's going to different time zones. One was a 9 a.m. body clock start, and they had the team had the flu or something like that, food poisoning maybe. That was the Illinois game. And the Nebraska game, they really should have lost if Raiola didn't get hurt. But different situation. Oregon hasn't been amazing. Dante Moore's got his issues. Last Friday was a little misleading. I think it was a tight game, all things considered, with Minnesota. And then they pulled away at the end and covered the 25.5 points. I think it's going to be right on the number. I think Maiyava does force the ball a little too much for my liking, but the wide receivers are just so dynamic. I think Riley's going to have his guys ready. Odds it'll be rocking, but I think I lean USC, but I can't pull the trigger because too many guys I truly respect are on the Ducks here.
Yeah, I keep hearing and seeing, obviously, Doug, all of these numbers. I guess it's 5-16 ATS, the last 21 road game, whatever it is with Kiff since Riley's been there. 5-16, 0-5 as a road underdog, straight up. But a lot of that is, as you say, heading east and crossing time zones. This is much different just taking the short trip north to Eugene. I want to believe in USC.
A lot of those losses are like losing by 5, losing by 4, where they're like 3.5 point favorites, like at Illinois, stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is a different situation, but it's also Oregon at Autzen. It's not the Midwest, different time zone, but it's obviously a much more difficult opponent.
Right. Right. But we've talked a little bit that is this Oregon team as good as some of the past years? Now they got to bust out the offense a little bit last week against Minnesota, I guess. But before that, their offense was kind of spotty. I mean, USC might have a little bit of a better offense than them coming into this game.
That might be the case. I do think the Ducks will kind of control the trenches, so that would be my apprehension for the
Right.
USC. I just think, like, I wouldn't be absolutely stunned if USC won the game. I
Me either.
wouldn't. Indiana's better for sure, but they also dominated that game. You don't need to dominate the game to win.
No.
So I just think it's too many points, and Dante Moore sort of deteriorated a little bit.
Mm,
Trojans have the better quarterback.
I agree. And sometimes better quarterback might want to gobble up those points. And we shall see Saturday afternoon there and Eugene. All right. The ACC, it's been tough. This is another one where every time someone kind of gets handed the ball, they fumble it. Now, Pittsburgh and Georgia Tech are both in the mix here. They are two of the four teams with one loss in conference play still remaining. So one of them is going to get to number 2 on Saturday night. Georgia Tech -2.5. Total a very big 61.
Georgia Tech plays high scoring games, and that's just what they do. They coming off a game where they combined for 70 against BC of all teams. I think this Pitt team stinks. I
Me
really
too.
do. I think the quarterback play and everything's changing. Too many moving parts. Uh, I know you mentioned the ACC has just been stubbing its own toe too much, but I have to lay it with the Ramble and Wreck. I can't get involved with Narduzzi's bonehead, decision
I,
emptiness between the ears. I know what he said last week about that game versus conference play, but I don't think the team's very good at all. I'll just trust the much better coach and the much better quarterback.
yeah, and look, I still can't get over what he said. And look, Notre Dame made him eat it on Saturday. But I mean, even as an overall look at your team, if I'm on that team, I'm like, oh, what are you saying? Like you don't give us any chance against this team this week? I don't know. I just don't feel like that was a very good for
I'll
morale
tell you what it
either.
was. He was just sort of a meathead. He was trying to articulate that this game didn't matter, but I
Right.
think he's too stupid to articulate it in a way where it didn't sound horrible, right? I don't
Right.
think he meant it literally like, oh, we could lose by 100. I don't care. I think he just meant like, hey, we're focused on that's one of our goals. Some of these coaches begin the season with 4 goals, right? Like win the conference, beat our rival, get to the playoff, win a national championship, right? So it's like he's basically saying we didn't have a 5th goal. Like, you got to be Notre Dame. Like, he didn't. He was trying to say like this doesn't matter in the big picture. This is just another game, but he's too dumb to do that, and that's the problem with these guys. Is they now look? They have a million things going through their head,
Right.
and you know I know from personal experience, you put a microphone in front of me long enough, I'm going to say something stupid. But so things like that. So I don't think he was saying like, "Hey, yeah, we're going to rest all our starters and we don't care about this game." Like, I don't think it was one of those situations. I just think he was saying like, "This game really doesn't matter. Our goal, one of our main goals, is to win the ACC, and they're not an ACC opponent." I just think you do Q&A a bunch of times every day, all that stuff. Like, you're going to say something that doesn't really add up, but I think that comment in its literal form didn't steer me away from them and things like that. But I think the overall concept, my takeaway was like, this guy's not that smart. And that
He's
backs it up when I watch them play.
he's a blockhead. Like you say, like he just
Yes.
that's what he is. He's a blockhead. And it's just hard to get past it sometimes. I like Georgia Tech. I'm with you at home. They should be able to beat Pitt. Tennessee at Florida. Not every SEC team is playing wiffle ball this week. Tennessee and Florida will get together in the swamp. Vols -4, flat 57.
Yeah, not a cupcake weekend like the rest of the conference. So I go back and forth because I like this Tennessee team. You might remember a couple of weeks ago, I
Yeah.
thought betting them 60-1 was worth a play. They just didn't get the win that weekend against, I forget who it was. But the problem
Oklahoma.
is they haven't beaten anyone. The best team they've beaten is who? Kentucky?
Mm.
At Kentucky, right? Like, that's their best win. So are they just a middle team? Like, should they be really laying 4 at Florida with Lagway playing better? Obviously, they showed us something last week. The game Florida at Kentucky, they just couldn't get off the bus because they were so drained from the game against Georgia. So Tennessee hasn't won there in over 2 decades. They're favored by 4. Feels like this line should be 2. With that being said, I think Tennessee's pretty good. This probably is a very high scoring game, the more I think about it. Tennessee will get up and down with you. And Florida, I was on the under last week, and there were just so many big plays, and I still almost got there. It's crazy. If Lagway had just turned it over inside his own 10, if they got 1 first down or 2 first downs, then I probably escape with the under. But they still had 41 points with Ole Miss in the first half. So what can you do? I think Tennessee's offense is really prolific. I throw out the New Mexico State game last week. I did lay 40 and a half small. And I mean, it was sort of on its way, but obviously it's too many points. Um, Gators had a big game against Ole Miss. Tennessee had a scrimmage. So maybe the Vols are the right side. I got to think about this more.
Yeah, the only thing I thought about here was the over, like you were saying.
Okay.
I think that's the one thing that's kind of on mine. I don't love for either side. I don't have a good feel for either side for the 4 getting or laying. So I think the total's kind of where I might be with Tennessee and Florida in that game on Saturday night. BYU at Cincinnati. It's still there for BYU, Doug, to get into the playoff. They're in the rankings. I believe they were number 10. They're number 11 as they head to Cincinnati. They're 9-1. Got a chance maybe to get another crack at Texas Tech if they could finish things out. They're 2.5-point favorites on the road here. 55.5 the total.
Yeah, I'll take the bait with the Cougars. Usually road favorites under 3, especially in the NFL, recipe for disaster. You think you're getting the better team. You're under 3. Well, there's a reason it's not 3. Let's put it that way. I don't think much of Cincinnati. Now they've faced a couple good teams. They got dusted at Utah and then lost at home to Arizona. I don't think much of the Cincy team. They don't stink, but I think the Cougars are pretty good, man. I think they're a bunch of grown men in the trenches, things like that. I'll lay it with the Cougs, and if I lose, I lose.
I'm with you. It's BYU for me. I think I saw today they're 16-1 straight up as a favorite since joining the Big 12. So usually in these spots, they've been able to take care of business. And I mix that also with what you said. I don't think much of Cincinnati. I really don't.
They're fine.
I don't
They're
really
fine. They'll beat
yeah,
Baylor and things like that.
but they're not. I don't think they're as good as BYU. So that kind of also plays into it for me. So there you go. Some of the big games on Saturday. We'll throw a few more in there tomorrow, of course, on a Friday heading into the weekend. We have one game tonight. I mean, it's fun, Belt, but is it with the Raging Cajuns and Arkansas State tonight, Doug? You interested at all?
No, I have enough going on with others, but I will say Louisiana is going to come to play. So they've won back-to-back games. They have 4 wins on the season. They have Monroe on deck, which should be another win. So they need this game for bowl eligibility hope.
Yeah.
And they're on a little bit of a roll. Now, Arkansas State's the better team. They should handle their business, but they just lost to Southern Miss, which basically cost them a chance at the Sun Belt because they're a game behind Southern Miss in the West. And obviously, if they're in a tie with them, Southern Miss has the tiebreaker. So I just wonder what kind of mindset the Red Wolves will be in, and that's why I think the dog here is. I think Louisiana is the play. I really do, but I just don't know these teams well, and sometimes we get carried away with teams on a roll like Louisiana because we forget the energy it took to win those games. So, like, how full is the gas tank? And you just wonder, like, yeah, they're playing well, but it's really hard to maintain, especially in a game that requires energy and all that, you know? So maybe it's next week they kind of run on empty, but it's coming. But I think the right side, I think Arkansas State could be super flat tonight.
There you go. A little somewhat fun Belt this evening.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with what you said at the beginning. I got plenty of other things I can go after tonight. Then now like Louisiana and Arkansas State. Now we do have games tomorrow night that we'll talk about tomorrow on Betting Weekly Live. Florida State, NC State, and I love the late night game tomorrow, Doug. And we'll talk about Hawaii and UNLV
Shootout
at Allegiant, up, and away. So we will have that tomorrow. College basketball. There are some games tonight of significance. You do start these holiday tournaments. I know that they've got some games in the Bahamas tonight with Memphis and number 1 Purdue. That is one game with Purdue laying around 2 tutties in that game against Memphis. And the other game is Wake Forest and Texas Tech, with Texas Tech laying a pretty big number. That was the only game that stuck out to me, Doug, just because we saw Wake Forest play Michigan. It was a very big number. And what they lose that game in overtime, they were in that. I know that Wake Forest isn't on the same level as Texas Tech, but maybe a little neutral court, trip down to the Bahamas. Maybe they can catch Texas Tech a little sleepy and hang around in a game with 9.5.
Yeah, I mean, Texas Tech is on that list of teams I'm scared to bet against just because I think they're so incredibly well coached, which was a continuation of the Chris Beard era. But you're right. Wake showed us something, but that could just been in Michigan, maybe not as good. I think it's Wake or pass, but I can't get involved here. I don't think it's one of those weird situations. Like you mentioned, Bahamas neutral court. Like, I don't really know. It's just another variable in the equation that I don't want to deal with.
Right. No doubt. And Purdue probably, Purdue's a pretty big number against Memphis in the first game that they're playing there tonight.
Yeah, I kind of side with Purdue here. Memphis, a lot of new pieces.
They've been bad.
I know, and I like a veteran point guard with Braden Smith with the Boilermakers. Like, I feel like he's going to be sort of the right, early in the season, he can calm things, like the calming hand, if you will. So if I'm going to lay this kind of number, I like doing it with a really good point guard who can orchestrate things. And I think this Purdue team's on a mission, man. I really do. Great win. They're now the number 1 team. I don't think there's going to be a flat spot like they're reading the press clippings. I think a team like Memphis with Penny at the helm is going to have their attention. This isn't a game where they're laying 30 against a doormat, and then might make sense to grab the points. I think Purdue could roll them here.
Other than these Bahama games, you really don't have much else. There's some huge numbers with St. John's and Houston and Tennessee. They're all laying enormous numbers. There is a good, you talk about late night bailout blowout. Arizona State's on the Big Island against Hawaii late night. If I can get you interested in that at all, Hawaii, I believe, is 2.5-point favorite against Arizona State in that game. So that game kind of stuck out to me, maybe because it starts at midnight. Maybe that's why it did.
Maybe we don't let it. No one in the chat wants to pick on Brown anymore, huh?
No,
they're like, Brown is putrid, blah, blah, blah.
No,
you don't come into the pits unless you're a good team. They lost by 19 to Holy Cross. So
now
Brown in the win column this year.
You also have, I did see some women's college basketball, and one of the numbers I saw you put down, it is enormous.
My buddy texted me last night who models this stuff. He's like, this line could be 50. They're going to win by 75. Lay it. And then I saw the number 60.5, and I texted him. And I go, it's 60.5, LOL. And he wrote back, he just sent me a screenshot of his ticket that he had to go bang some kiosk, several thousand on the Tigers, laying 60.5 was his ticket.
Moved it another number.
Now we're getting steamed here. That key number of 61 on the side there, that key number you got to be careful of in women's basketball. You don't see that very often. I kind of want to make it my best bet just to have fun. But remember, it was the same guy who gave us a blowout a couple of weeks ago. It was like 110 to like 29. So it's Ellis. I would lay it with LSU.
You got Iowa on there too? You have to text about Iowa?
Yeah, so Iowa is a different game. He really, really likes this game too. So, like I said, remember we had the over a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago maybe? My guy knows what he's doing, but this should be a good game. It's a ranked matchup, top 20, Baylor and Iowa, both teams undefeated. We certainly know of the Hawkeyes because of Caitlin Clark, but they got big recruit. They had a transfer last year from Villanova, and I'm escaping her name. I think her name's Emily something. She's awesome, and she's now in the NBA with the Wizards. Sorry, WNBA. But Iowa's got a little pipeline here, and they're pretty good. Now, this game's actually on the road. This is in Florida, so it's not in Iowa City. It's a neutral court in Lake Buena Vista, but I'd lay it with the Hawkeyes as well.
Wow, little Disney action at the Wild World of Sports complex for that Lake Buena Vista tonight for Baylor and Iowa. They can go hit the Tower of Terror when they're done over there at Hollywood Studios. All right, there you go. We've got college basketball action tonight. All right, it is You make me laugh. I saw what you just did. It is best bet time here on Betting Weekly Live. And don't forget, starting Monday, 4 p.m. East, 1 p.m. Pacific, an hour earlier, we will start Betting Weekly Live. So you got a little bit of extra time to come back, check out the show, make sure you got all your plays in. Make sure that you do that starting Monday, 4 p.m. East. Okay, here we go for best bets tonight. I will start. I'm going to the Shavers with the Bills tonight, over 24.5 receiving yards. I wanted to go double check, Doug, and I did during the show. He had the most snaps among Bill wide receivers on Sunday in that game against Tampa. Him and Shakir both had the most snaps. He's in the same spot here for Coleman tonight. He had 4 catches on 5 targets for over 90 yards. This number is too light for a guy who's going to have a big role in the offense. And think about it, Doug. How much are they going to change on a short week between Sunday to Thursday? Probably not that much. I know Houston's defense, especially pass, is very good. But we're talking something that we can get there maybe in 1 catch. So Shavers over 24.5 receiving yards. That'll be my best bet.
Like it. I guess the only thing would be like wear and tear, short week, how's the body feeling, things like that, injuries mounting. But that would be, you're right, they're not going to implement any changes. I'm going to ride the Tigers here. I don't think Kim Mulkey lifts their foot up off the gas. So as much as I like the Hawks, and I really do, it's the NBA. I'm always a little gun shy there, but I think we know what we're getting here. I think LSU is going to put up at least 100, maybe 110. And I don't see that much from Alcorn State. I'm going with my people. You had Tennessee Martin the other night from your peeps.
Yep. That's very true. And you got there. And now I am on with you because I just put it in. This will come in at Bet Rivers at plus, and they just took that. That's not cool. They suspended the Shavers as I was about to put it in. They better not be. They probably just heard me say you have the same amount of snaps as the other day. I did see it at plus 260 before they took it off the board. Now, that might just be it is maybe inactives are coming out. Maybe that's why they're moving the number. Hopefully we can that's going to – all right, if they move that number too much, Allen over 34.5 rushing yards. Okay, slide that in for Shavers, but hopefully they do that.
I was at ESPN, and the sponsor we had, my buddy was convinced that the trading room was watching the show because I was getting such good info, and I'd give out a play, they'd move it like a point or two. I'm not saying that's what's going on here. So here we go. We got 23.5.
20, we're down 1. Okay, so plus 252. The daily double, Terrell Shavers. This is something. Now, look, we're going to thump our chest a little tomorrow on Twitter if this goes through. Terrell Shavers over 23.5 and LSU women laying 61.5. Maybe we're feeling ourselves too much, plus 15 units on the daily double so far. But we're going to have a little fun on a Thursday night here. Doug, great job.
Points.
Let's go.
I'm definitely watching this game. I think it's going to get big screen treatment.
You've got me in now. I'm going to be keeping my eye, and I'm a huge Bills fan.
NFL on the side TV, NFL in the corner. We're getting
Bills
LSU women against Alcorn State in the middle
12
screen.
hockey games, and I'm going to have the LSU women on my phone while I'm watching the Bills tonight. Daily double for you on Betting Weekly Live. Doug, we will be back tomorrow. Again, more people over in the UK happy about the time change. We'll be back tomorrow. Last day at 5 o'clock East, 2 o'clock Pacific. Monday, we'll switch to 4 p.m. East. But we will have NBA Cup tomorrow night. All the NFL for the weekend. The college football for the weekend and tomorrow night's games. College basketball. There's a few hockey games tomorrow night as well. So very busy as always. Doug, great job by the crew. Mike Carver, Doug Kezirian, Betting Weekly Live, part of Betting Weekly Studios, Bet Rivers Network. Have a great night. Enjoy the games. We'll see you tomorrow.